What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, and just wanted to do another Prepping 101 video. And the Prepping 101 series is basically an introductory series into prepping. It describes all the major terms and theories and principles in prepping. It's designed to be introductory, so if you're new to prepping, this is definitely a good series for you. If you're not into prepping, but you're curious about it and you want to learn more, that's definitely a good series. This is definitely a good series for you because it's going to give you a crash course in all the major elements of prepping, the principles behind it, and the main things that you're going to need to be prepared for any type of situation that you may encounter. So, um, in this segment, I'm going to talk about WROL, SHTF, and TEOTWAWKI. What do these terms mean and why are they important? So WROL stands for without rule of law, and then SHTF is shit hits the fan, and TEOTWAWKI is the end of the world as we know it. So those three acronyms should be, you know, part of your all your prepping is going to be revolving around those three acronyms right there. You're preparing for without rule of law, you're preparing for the end of the world as we know it, and you're preparing for shit hits the fan. So I'm not going to try to define what shit hits the fan means. You should know what that means, but you know without rule of law, essentially WRL, what that means is like essentially exactly what it says is there's no rule of law. A situation like that where there's no rule of law can be caused by a variety of scenarios. It could be caused by a power outage. It could be caused by civil unrest. It could be caused by a natural disaster. It could be caused by a terrorist attack. Um, it's basically anything that's going to cause rule of law to subside. Um, is a threat to you, as a citizen of this country, and it's important to be prepared for that. You can, do an analysis in your head and determine, what the threats are and what the most likely scenarios are, and you could spend, days debating that. But the most important thing is you understand what those terms are and understand how that affects your prepping. Same thing with TEOTWAWKI. That's the end of the world as we know it. Um, and so basically, the end of the world as we know it, that means that, you know, as we live our life right now, everything is comfortable. We have food, we have water. I can turn the sink on and I have water. I can go upstairs and, go into my shower anytime I want. I can go into my fridge and I have a fridge stocked with food. I can flip a switch and I have light. I can go to a thermostat and I can turn the thermostat on and I have heat, or I have, air conditioning. All these things, if there's a SHTF or TEOTWAWKI, then all these things are going to probably be going away, either fully or partially. So that's something you have to prepare for. You have to prepare for the fact that you may not be able to just flip a switch on and have light. You may need to have other ways to provide light for yourself and for your family. You may not have running water. You're not just going to be able to turn a sink on and wash your hands, or go upstairs and shower whenever you want. It's going to be different. So you need to prepare for that. You need to have ways of attaining water so you can clean yourself and clean, your dishes. If you're eating, food, you're going to need to stockpile food. So if the power goes out, you have food. Grocery stores, if there's shortages in food, um, it's good to have some food storage. And I'll go into food storage in a separate video. But there's different options for food storage. You can get canned food or freeze-dried food. Those are the most common two food storage methods. Freeze-dried food is lasts a lot longer, and it's a little bit better ingredients. Canned food, it doesn't last as long. And obviously, if the can gets ruptured or something, you can get bacteria, botulism. So you have to be careful with that. But basically, WROL, SHTF, and TEOTWAKI are the driving principles behind prepping. Those are the three things that drive us to prep and to be prepared, because we know that as a prepper, I know that a WROL situation could potentially be, hazardous to me and my family. When there's no rule of law, what that essentially means is that police services are and government services, the rule of law are non-existent, or they're not fully, there. So um, a number of things can cause that to happen, and a lot of people don't understand that, police forces are not that big. It's police, the principle of policing, it works on, intimidation, that, you know, police officers are outnumbered by civilians, 100 to 1 at least, or even much more than that. So you can't expect a police department to patrol every single area and be there for everything. It's just not possible. So you have to take your own safety and security into your own hands, because the police are not going to be there all the time. It's just not physically possible. And if there's a situation where you have a large scale disaster or some type of situation, the police are going to be overwhelmed. They're not going to be able to just, come to your house if you hear a bump, or you think that there's somebody in your house. They're going to be overwhelmed helping other people. It's just going to be like calling into a call center, into like a credit card company in the evening on a weekday. You're going to be on hold for an hour, or, who knows what. It could be even worse than that. It could be a situation where, the police are totally just not functioning anymore. A lot of if it's a really bad disaster, a lot of the police officers will go home and take care of their own families, and have to take care of their own needs too. The police themselves may not have resources to patrol like they normally would, because they're going to have to worry about their own security of their department. They're going to have to worry about, having enough fuel, for their generator. They're going to need food supplies. They're going to need fuel for their patrol vehicles. They're going to need power so they can run the dispatching center. So the police departments are going to have their own resources to continue. So if there's a power outage or some type of disaster, the police are not going to be, as present as they are during a rule of law. And so that's why you have to prepare for that and anticipate, that that's what's going to happen when there's a major disaster. So you have to be able to protect yourself, protect your family, protect your property. You're going to need to have your own resources to live off of, because the government may not be able to help you. And many times, the government assistance is not the best. Just look at like Hurricane Katrina. They had a football stadium that they opened up for refugees, from the hurricane, for all the people that were essentially, refugees, because their homes were destroyed, and they crowded all these people into a stadium, and people were getting sick because it's close proximity. When you're in a situation like that, where you're in a government care center like that, a shelter of some sort, you're more likely to be robbed. You're more likely to get sick, because there's going to be a aggregation of a lot of people in a small area. So you want to avoid that. You want to have your own preps. You want to be prepared. And same thing with TEOTWAKI. That's the end of the world as we know it. That's a more permanent disaster where, the power is out, or, civilization as we know it is different, and it's not going to come back for any time soon. So in that situation, you have to have a plan, and you need to have resources that can get you and your family through that long-term situation. And the end of the world as we know it is, I look at it as more of a long-term thing, versus WROL or SHTF could be short-term. Could be a hurricane, it could be a terrorist attack, it could be some type of power grid failure. That's what, to me, WROL, SHTF is. TEOTWAKI would be like a nuclear war, or, you know, a major economic collapse, um, which, or some type of longer term situation, a depression, a volcanic winter, something like that, which is, all these things are less likely, volcanic winters, nuclear wars, depressions, they don't happen that often. So, in my opinion, it's better to be prepared for WROL and SHTF, because that's a more short-term situation. It could be long-term, but my recommendation is to prepare for the WROL and the SHTF in a short-term basis, because some of the longer-term end of the world as we know it scenarios are not as realistic, in my opinion. They can still happen. I'm not saying they can't, but most people, it's not realistic to stockpile 2 years worth of food and enough ammunition to outfit a small military. It's not possible for most people to do that. So I think if you prepare for at least a couple of months, have enough resources to survive a few months, I think you're in good shape. So I hope this video helped you understand what a WROL, SHTF, and TEOTWAKI is, and why you want to prepare for it. Another thing too, that's people are going to become in WROL, SHTF, TEOTWAKI, people will become very dangerous. They'll become very hostile. There's going to be a lot of people who, especially in a WROL situation, without rule of law, there's going to be a lot of people who become emboldened, by the fact that there's no rule of law, there's no police. They're going to use that situation and take advantage of it, just like if you watch the Purge movies, or The Walking Dead. Both of those movies depict accurately, in a general sense, what would happen if there was a situation where there was no law and no policing. You have all these crazy, mentally ill or just evil people that are going to band together. They're going to create, gangs. They're going to, and they're going to go out and they're going to rape and pillage. It's, I hate to use those words, but that's exactly what it's going to be. They're going to be like modern day Vikings. They're going to band together and they're going to go out and live out all their fantasies that they want to. During rule of law, they can't live those fantasies out because the police are there to stop them and arrest them and put them away. But when the police are not around, all those bad people are going to be free to do whatever they want, and they're going to take advantage of it. They're going to burglarize, they're going to do all kinds of bad things, and especially if, and then aside from just the bad people, then you have the average person. Most people today are not prepared for a WROL, an SHTF, a TEOTWAKI. They don't have, as you see when there's a hurricane, we had Hurricane Dorian most recently, and there was people that they went to Walmart, they went to all the big shopping centers, BJ's, Costco, all the major supermarkets, and all the shelves were empty. And once people realize that the power's not coming back, the grocery stores are empty, there's no food anywhere, there's no water anywhere, people are going to start panicking, because they know that they have to eat, they know that their kids have to eat, so they're going to be pushed to do more violent things to get resources, to get food, to get water. If that means, stealing from you, or, taking your food from you using force, or threatening to kill you if they have a firearm, they're going to do it, because at that point, it's human nature. They're going to want to survive, and it's they know that if you have a can of food, they're going to want to take it from you if you don't give it to them. So and if they have no other means to provide for their families, so in addition to bad people, becoming a threat, the average person who now normally is a law-abiding citizen is also going to become a threat, especially if they're unprepared. So that's another reason why preppers prepare for WROL and for SHTF, because we're concerned about not just the bad people and the threats that they would pose when there's a lack of law and policing, but also the average person, what they're going to be capable of, because human beings are capable of doing a lot of things, and especially when we're hungry and we're thirsty and our kids are hungry and thirsty and things like that, we're going to do whatever's necessary. So I hope that you got some value out of this video if you're new to prepping, and I hope this helped you out. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. God bless.